That's wrong. Well, hello everybody. I was gonna play the video and I think I forgot to load the video that I was going to play. And I did, but if you give me a minute, I'll go ahead and play it anyway and
Okay.
give y'all another minute to kind of catch up with what's going on. Let's try this again.
Uh,
Hello and welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, I flubbed that up in the beginning, didn't I? That's
Hey,
okay.
nobody's perfect.
Oh, that's sure isn't me, that's for sure. About as imperfect as they come. Well, thank y'all for coming to our next episode, number 3 of Mastering Mental Wellness with my co-host Isaac.
Yes.
And the winner of this episode's topic was anxiety. So that's what we're going to be covering is coping skills for anxiety.
Hmm.
Uh, a lot of people think they know what anxiety is, but maybe it's not really that, or it's that just a little bitty bit. And
Hmm.
other people have massive anxiety attacks and are convinced that they're dying.
Yes.
Take me to the emergency room right now. That was my late husband. He would have
Hmm.
insane anxiety attacks. So, uh, why don't you go ahead and start us off with a kind of a basic breakdown of what it is, how to know what it
Hmm.
is, if
Hmm.
somebody's going through it, that
Hmm.
kind of thing. Um,
Okay. Basically, anxiety is most people will refer to it as being nervous, but some people they can't calm that nervousness down. It's almost like getting up in front of a group to speak
mhm,
and you get nervous and then it sort of goes away. But a person with anxiety, it may not go away. They just keep feeling that way. And like you say, some people have even gone to the hospital with the anxiety because they think they're having a heart attack because their heart will race. They will get like, they will feel like, they call it feeling outside of themselves as if they are in a cartoon like and they can't sort of get a grip on it. That's when it can get really bad. Some people get to the point of taking different medications for the anxiety, but some medications for anxiety can be um, habit forming. So uh, a lot of people try to get away from those. But usually, what I found though, if it's a male, they will give them the hard and fast medications that will calm it down. They're supposed to like sort of wean them off of it after they
mhm.
start getting some type of a treatment, but a lot of times they don't because think about it, if you feel like you're going mad or you want to run out of a grocery store or something, when you have anxiety medication on board and you're not doing that, you think it's working until it's not working. But that's about it, just the nervous feelings. And some people will say that, oh, I got a bit of anxiety. But a person who has anxiety, like with panic attack, they would not describe it as a little anxiety ever. That's what I would say.
Well, I know, I mean, I remember back, I guess it would have been our parents' generation because we're about the same age. Uh,
Hmm.
the number one source for people having anxiety or, feeling out of sorts like that was Valium.
Yes.
Doctors would prescribe Valium like candy from the candy store. I mean,
Yes.
people would be popping pills left and right, and it wasn't until quite a ways down the road, I think, when doctors started realizing just how addictive Valium was and how
Mhm.
harmful it can be.
Mhm.
Um, so then, of course, came the job of getting their people off of anxiety. You got the
Mhm.
sun coming through on the right up there. Looks like you're
Right, right.
posing.
Let me
Looks
see
like
if I can
somebody's
let me
shining
see
a
if I can
spotlight
fix
on you.
let me see if I can fix that. What is
Looks like you got a spotlight on you. And
okay. Ah,
you're just going to shift things around. Let's see here.
oops.
In the meantime, while Isaac gets rid of his spotlight that's lighting him up, um, there are some really good worksheets that I'm going to post the link for that. I've already put the link for them in the chat where you can go and look at these worksheets, kind of go through them. See, oh, there you go.
Okay. That's a bit better, huh?
No, it doesn't look like you got a spotlight on your head. So.
That was my filter. It's supposed to make me look younger, not disappear.
Well, now StreamYard has a thing when you first get on, and you can click in settings,
Uh-huh.
and you can they've got this new thing, and you can toggle it as little or as much as you want. That
Okay.
will help reduce the wrinkles and make you look a little younger. So yeah, I use it.
Okay, I didn't know
It's
I
like
would
if
miss
somebody ever meets me in real life, they're gonna think, where are those wrinkles coming from? She doesn't have all those wrinkles on air.
it.
It's like when I film something on my phone and then post it, I'll look at it and I'm thinking, boy, that doesn't look anything like I look on my other videos.
I know, right? Hey.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, let me pull this up real quick
Mhm.
and just let y'all take a look. I've got the link for it in the chat,
Mhm.
but this is basically the a worksheet for coping skills, how to
Mhm.
deal with anxiety. As you can see, this area
Mhm.
right here, this is the actual worksheet, and you can download it and use it. This is page 2. Just gives
Mhm.
you different ways, different coping skills of how to handle it,
Mhm.
and it uh, it helped. No, wrong one. Okay, it helps a little bit better to know
Mhm.
what you're dealing with. There are additional links towards the bottom of the page, some guided meditation type activities,
Mhm.
some deep breathing activities. A lot of people don't
Mhm.
know how to do deep breathing exercises without making themselves hyperventilate.
Right.
So that's kind of a good thing to learn how to do.
Mhm.
And all right, take that down. And hi, Jamie. No, we're live. We're actually here.
Yes.
Um,
We're here.
it's just there's a bunch of other big name people that are kind of up live right now. So this is almost going to be like a recording because there's not a lot of people in the chat. But
Mhm.
thank you for coming.
Yes.
And that that happens. Sometimes you hit it
Mhm.
and you're the only one up and running, and other
And you
times you're on and you get 4 or 5 of the big names that all go live, and it's like
yeah.
people don't know which way to go. So some of them
So
will hop around from channel to channel.
yeah.
Um, but so anyway, like I said, the link for the worksheets is in the
Mhm.
chat. I put that up. You could click on that link. There's short little Not a whole lot, as you can see, just short little
Mhm.
information that you can get, a worksheet that you can download, and then you can, you can kind of go through all of the different uh, coping skills. Like I said, a lot of people don't know how to do deep breathing
Mhm.
exercises without
Mhm.
making themselves hyperventilate.
Right.
And the best way I can explain it to folks is you breathe in through your nose and then you hold it for a couple of seconds
Mhm.
and then you blow it out through your mouth.
Mhm.
But you take your time with it, you don't rush it. Because if
Mhm.
you try to do it fast, you're going to hyperventilate and make yourself pass out.
Mhm.
I've done that before too. So, because I didn't know what I was doing. So it helps, just a deep breath. Most, if you do any meditation uh,
Mhm.
audio programs, a lot of them will start out with the deep breathing and they will talk you through breathe in through
Mhm.
your nose,
Mhm.
hold to a count of 3 or 4, then release through the mouth.
Mhm.
And you don't want to do it quick. You don't want to sound like a freight train trying to breathe. Okay, you can do it in a very gentle manner. Um, there was one that I had never even. Well, let's stop here. Anything that you can add to deep breathing, other things you can kind of
Yes.
enhance that.
The 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 point behind the deep breathing is that most people breathe really shallow anyway, and we're not recognizing it. We're not using our full lung capacity when we breathe, and that contributes to the panic attacks because a person feels like they can't breathe. Uh, the deep breathing or any of these exercises, and I want to say that before we go any further, this is something that you practice ahead of time before an anxiety attack or panic attack, because it will help. It will Your mind will remember to calm down, because when you're doing deep breathing exercises, you're engaging the vagus nerve, and that is the nerve that runs from the top of our head all the way down the length of our body. That will help us calm down when we learn to do the deep breathing. Your mind will just remember.
What nerve is that? What nerve is that called again?
The vagus nerve.
Vegas. Oh, like Las Vegas. Vegas. Okay.
Yeah. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't think it's spelled like Vegas.
Close enough. I just wanted to say if I
Mhm.
repeated it, I wanted to make sure I was saying it
Uh-huh.
correctly.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I've done meditation, group meditations now
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
people where the host will be like, breathe in, breathe, do the whole
Mhm.
step. And you
Mhm.
can watch other people not do the really deep breath. They just do a little shallow breath and then they can't really
Mhm.
hold it that long. And then they blow it out real fast. It's like you want to go in slowly through the nose because you want to feel it in your solar plexus here. You want to literally put your hand on your stomach, like around the belly button area. And when you breathe in, when it's a deep breath, your hand will visibly move outwards
Mhm.
as your diaphragm expands.
Mhm.
Um, you can
Yeah.
see that with singers who are
Mhm.
who know that they've got like a long note coming up that they're
Mhm.
going to hit, or
Mhm.
a real high note. You could see them take in that really deep breath before they
Mhm.
get to that point so that when they hit that note, they've already got the air there to
Mhm.
carry that note through. Um,
Readers do that
Otherwise,
too.
yeah,
Readers do that to ground before they do a reading.
yes, I do it all the time before I do readings.
Mm.
I started practicing a form of Tai Chi called Deep
Mhm.
Calm,
Mhm.
and and the one that I practice is for those with disabilities, with spinal injuries like me.
Okay.
And so it's very slow, very fluid, kind of
Mhm.
floaty kind of movements. I
Mhm.
probably look as ridiculous as hell when I do it because I go out on the patio and I'll
Do
do
you? Do you?
my
Great.
deep breathing, and I'm sure the
Great.
neighbors walk by and think there's that crazy lady again.
Right.
Um, because when I do it, I'll do the sweeping arms up and
Uh-huh.
out
Uh-huh.
into the back, and just because with Gikong, as you follow through on the movements and the breathing, and you always bring it back around like you're holding a ball in front of
Right.
you.
Right.
And after you do that a few times,
Mm-hmm.
you can physically feel like it feels like you're holding an energy ball
Mm-hmm.
in your
Mm-hmm.
hands. There's nothing there, but
Right.
you will literally feel the weight and the depth
Mm-hmm.
as if you're
Mm-hmm.
holding a ball in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I heard somebody talk about that, I thought that's a bunch of BS. And then I started doing it, and it was like,
Uh-huh.
wow, it's
Mm-hmm.
you really can.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind will replace
Mm-hmm.
what's not there
Mm-hmm.
because you're imitating all the movements that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And then to release, draw out, I guess with Gikong is what they're doing is drawing energy up from Mother
Mm-hmm.
Earth,
Mm-hmm.
releasing it into Father Sky.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process, you want it to move through you. So you
Mm-hmm.
pull it out and then you
Mm-hmm.
release it up.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, you're doing the deep breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very relaxing when you do that. Um, you have to be careful about breathing slowly, taking it one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like I said, you'll hyperventilate, pass out. I've seen people in class do that when I took a Gikong class.
Uh-huh.
They only had a couple of classes before COVID hit, and then they never
Right.
did the classes
Mm-hmm.
again.
Mm-hmm.
But those first couple of classes, I would see people get like,
Oh.
real woozy and be like, man, sit
Mm-hmm.
down. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
fall down if you're not
Mm-hmm.
careful. But it was with the Gikong, the kind of movements they did.
Uh-huh.
We had a couple of people in that class that were chair bound. They couldn't
Oh,
stand up to stretch and stuff, but they could
okay.
still follow
Do
through with the movements in their chair.
good.
And so I always thought, well, now that's cool because they're still able to do that form of not just a physical movement of exercise, but a
Mm-hmm.
mental movement of
Right.
exercise.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, learning the deep breathing is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then the next thing they talk about on the coping skills is progressive muscle relaxation,
Yes.
which is tensing and relaxing your muscles
Mm-hmm.
one muscle set at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I have that correct, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm,
And
eh,
anything you want to add? We'll
yeah,
start with
what I
that.
would suggest is a guided progressive muscle relaxation. Because and that's one thing that I did early on for a long time. And it will help open you up spiritually too. But it's if you're trying to remember all the body parts, the muscle groups, you may get distracted. But if you're listening to someone else talk you through those muscle groups, it's a lot better. It tends to work well for someone who has a difficult time falling asleep. You
Hmm.
have to practice it though over time. And like if you start at your head and try to work down to your feet, you'll start falling asleep before you get through all the muscle groups. Because if you're doing it for sleep, the point is not just to go through the entire exercise. If you fall asleep, you've accomplished your goal. That's 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 one thing I would recommend. And all of these things that we're talking about, some people are going to find some easier to do than others, and they're
Yeah.
going to find one that's more that they can gravitate to more than the others.
My dog's at it again. My son's dog is at it again, I should say.
Okay, he must be
That's his
trying
baby.
to
Hi,
tell us that
Nancy.
progressive muscle relaxation is the
Right.
thing.
And on sometimes I want to put a muzzle on him, make him shut up. because he starts barking and it's like he starts and he can't stop.
Mhm.
He just
Mhm.
keeps going, It's like, okay,
Uh-huh.
broken record, hit the button.
Uh-huh.
Um, one of the things in the worksheet that it shows,
Mhm.
and I'll put this back up again in a minute. On here, it starts you at your feet and works up,
Mhm.
but that's for a different reason as opposed to what Isaac was talking about, trying to go to sleep. You go from the head and work your way down.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I've done both,
Mhm.
and the first time I did that, and it was back when I first kind of started opening myself back up to my abilities.
Mhm.
And somebody was like, "Well, you need to learn to relax, to meditate, whatever." And there was this company at the time that was doing these audio subliminal message
Mhm.
audios, and so
Mhm.
you were listening to light rainfall and uh, like a singing bowl gong kind
Mhm.
of thing that they would play.
Mhm.
And then the subliminal messages would play that you didn't audibly hear.
Mhm.
And it would be, whatever the message was, you're great, you're wonderful,
Mhm.
you do positive things, or
Mhm. Mhm.
it was all of this self-esteem stuff.
Mhm.
And one of the things they would have you start on at the beginning of the audio was this very thing, the muscle relaxation. And it was
Mhm.
start at your toes, curl up your toes, relax your toes,
Right.
curl up your ankle, flex your
Mhm.
ankles back and forth, relax your ankles. And it
Mhm.
just moved up the body. And by the time I would get to my waist, I would be out. I mean,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and so I guess that was their point, was if you
Mhm.
fall asleep, you're going to respond to that subliminal message
Mhm.
better
And
than you would if you aren't sleeping.
yes, and you know one thing too, it helps you the progressive muscle relaxation helps you realize where you carry tension in your body, because a lot of people don't realize that they carry tension. It may be in the neck, it may be in the stomach, in the back, and we end up having pains in those areas. But when you start to practice progressive muscle relaxation, and if it's, say, for instance, if it's a neck muscle, it may be a few times before you can totally relax it. But when you start to relax it, you start to realize, oh, that's where I was carrying a lot of tension.
Yeah, headaches, they can form in the
Yes.
form of bad. You hear people say, "I got a stress headache today,"
Yes.
and
Hmm.
it's because all of these muscles around the neck and the shoulders, all this area, they get tensed
Hmm.
up,
Hmm.
and that's what causes your headache. Now, granted, there are different types of headaches, so there's
Hmm.
different responses to them.
Hmm.
When you get a migraine, most times you need medication to get
Right.
past.
Hmm.
That's a different animal in and of itself.
Hmm.
Um, but just for stress headaches, I used to do some neck exercises, but
Hmm.
when they did the fusion on my neck, it's like
Hmm.
I can't really move my head and my neck that way anymore. So I have to
Hmm.
try to compensate in other ways.
Hmm.
Um, and that's with, the tensing of the muscles of the arms, of the hands,
Mhm.
um, stomach muscles. It's just, you don't realize. I mean, it's with the breakdown here, they're talking about feet, calves, thighs,
Mhm.
torso,
Mhm.
back, shoulders,
Mm.
arms, hands,
Mhm.
face, and then
Mhm.
full body.
Mhm.
I don't think I ever got to the full body portion before I
Uh,
was out. So
uh-huh.
that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Um, and then let's see, I want to make sure I wrote notes on some of these so that
Okay.
I wanted to be sure that I was able to cover it with everyone.
Mhm.
Here's another one of the worksheets that they had up
Mhm.
called What Are Panic Attacks? It
Mhm.
talks about kind of like where we started out with what it is.
Mhm.
How do you know if it's a panic attack? I was really interested in this because my late husband used to get severe panic attacks
Mhm.
to the
Mhm.
point that I would have to take him to the emergency room because he was convinced that he was dying right that minute. Take
Yeah.
me to the hospital.
Mhm.
And we this went on for years.
Mhm.
And usually they would give him something to calm him down, like a muscle relaxant or something,
Mhm.
and send him home. And then finally, one time I went, took him to the emergency room, and the doctor actually was a young doctor, actually called me aside and says he's having a panic attack.
Mhm.
I'm like, what do you mean he's having a panic attack? He's like, yeah, he's having a massive panic attack. He's
Mhm.
exhibiting all of the symptoms.
Mhm.
I said, we've been coming to the ER for like 4 years with these attacks. And you're telling me that it's just a panic attack. It's not there's nothing physically wrong with him. Doctor said, yeah. He said they should have told you that long before now
Mhm.
that he was having a panic attack.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, that helps explain a lot. Now I can kind of figure out how to deal with it when it happens.
Right.
And that's when I kind of picked up some of the earlier steps of what
Mhm.
to do and how to do it.
Right.
Um,
Because when you
and-
know what it is, then you know what is not. And if
right,
you don't know what it is scary.
very much so,
Mhm.
because it does feel like you're dying. Your heart's pounding.
Right.
You can't catch your breath. Um, you'll have like spasms
Yeah.
in your back and stuff. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm sure it feels like you're having a heart attack.
Some
Um,
people will almost pass out if they don't actually pass out.
yeah,
It's a scary thing. But the whole point behind all of this is whatever works for you, do it continuously
yeah.
because
So
we I think everybody does something to calm themselves down. And some people say, "Oh, I've never had a panic attack," but they have some type of coping skills or it's not in their DNA to have a panic attack.
right. Um, yeah, I mean, I used to think I never have panic attack, and then once I
Mhm.
knew that that's what was affecting my husband, and I started reading up on it,
Mhm.
and I was able to suddenly start seeing little symptoms that I would
Mhm.
have when I
Right.
was exhibiting anxiety.
Mhm.
Um, and I, up until that point, I always just attributed it to overwork, not
Mhm.
getting enough sleep, not eating right,
Mhm.
which, yes, those are all precursors to what can lead up to an
Mhm.
anxiety attack. But um, it's doing the same kind of things as you go through
Mhm.
so that it becomes muscle memory.
Yes.
And the minute your body starts feeling that panic attack, it will automatically start going through the motions
I think
of,
you're right.
muscle. I mean, what I've been reading on it and refreshing my memory on
Mhm.
all of this stuff that Isaac sent me. Um, and again, I'll put this up one more time.
Mhm.
Um, this is, as you can see, here's another one of the worksheets.
Mhm.
Explains what is anxiety.
Mhm.
And here you can download the page so that you can put it on your computer, you can print it out, whatever, but it will go through all the things that um where is my paper that matches that? Oh, here we go. What is anxiety? It goes through the it'll go through here, it'll go through all the symptoms that you feel. Uncontrollable worry, poor concentration, excessive nervousness, increased heart rate, sleep problems, upset stomach, muscle tension,
Mhm.
avoidance of fear.
Mhm.
And then they list types of anxiety, which is generalized, phobias, and full on panic.
Mhm.
And we can certainly go through that point by point. Um, it covers how does anxiety grow. It's literally a vicious circle.
Mhm.
You start experiencing it, it triggers the next thing, which triggers the next thing,
Mhm.
which triggers that original feeling. Hi,
Mhm.
Michelle. Um, so um, different. You want to add anything before I go on with
Mhm.
types?
That's exactly it. What you're saying, but it's like you said, you were going to the hospital for 4 years, and nobody ever said that. But if you don't know what's going on with you, you're going to have a poor reaction to it. Everybody does.
Yeah,
And that's why we have to learn as much about ourselves as we can. We've in our society, we've been taught to collect information about other people. We should collect information about ourselves, and then we know how to respond in different situations, I believe.
right. And it talks here about different types of anxiety, generalized anxiety, an excessive amount of anxiety or worry in several areas of your life,
Hmm.
such as your job responsibilities, your health, your finances,
Hmm.
um, things happening at home. I mean, are you in an abusive relationship with someone? Well,
Hmm.
when it's getting close to time for them to come home,
Hmm.
you're going to start feeling anxious about it because you
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen when they walk in that door.
Hmm.
Or if you're someone that grew up with Stepford mom who kept the house spotless 24/7, never anything dirty or whatnot. Hi, Sylvia. Then you as an adult are going to freak out if you can't keep your kitchen clean or your floor swept or, the laundry caught up
Hmm.
because you're trying to work full time and take care of your family and do all this other stuff.
Hmm.
And it can cause anxiety to form.
Hmm.
Um, it talks about a different type of anxiety is phobias, which is an intense fear of a specific situation or object, which
Yeah.
is out of proportion to its actual threat,
Hmm.
like the fear of public speaking,
Hmm.
the fear of spiders, or bugs.
Hmm.
Um, some people have fear of going outside their door. They can't leave their home because it's too terrifying to go outside.
Hmm.
Um,
They call that agoraphobia.
right, agoraphobia. And or me, I'm claustrophobic. I have a hard time riding in elevators or getting into small spaces because I have this abnormal fear of being buried alive, like that's going to happen. But
Ah,
I have a feeling maybe that happened to me in a past life, and that's why I freak out about it now. Um,
a lot of people say that because it can't be explained. It can't,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I think there's a lot of truth to
exactly. I mean, I laugh, I tease my son. I told him, "Don't bury me. I'll come back and haunt you. You
it.
better cremate me, because don't put me in the ground
Hmm.
because of this irrational fear of being
Right,
buried alive.
right,
Like you're going to still be alive by the time they get you in the coffin and put you in the ground. It's
right.
by that point your blood's gone. You've got embalming fluid in you.
Uh huh.
You're not going to be alive.
Hmm.
um, but again, spiders. I mean, I've known people that freak out when they see a spider. I'm like
Yes.
uncontrollably freak out, or it just God. I mean, people have fear of dogs. Big dogs or little dogs or all dogs. I mean, a dog comes near them and they flip out on you because they have this irrational fear that this dog is going to hurt them. And most of the time, the dog is just trying to smell them and figure out who and what they are.
Hmm.
Um, that's how they sense and see what's around them is by
Hmm.
smelling things.
Hmm.
People flip out. And then there's the full on panic attack, which is an extreme anxious response where a person experiences a panic attack. During a panic attack, the individual experiences numerous physical symptoms and is overwhelmed by a feeling of dread. That's what I was talking about with my late
Mhm.
husband. He would be convinced that he was dying, he was having a heart attack, he was going to drop dead any second. I had to take him to the emergency room right this second. And, like I said, we did it for years before a doctor finally told me he's having a panic attack.
Mhm.
Let him take an extra muscle relaxer, a pain pill, and he'll be fine. Um, because, I mean, he was disabled by that point. So, sometimes I think it would be, all right, bye, babe. Sometimes I think it would be the issues he dealt with because of his disability that would
Mhm.
onset the panic attacks.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. Michelle had something up here.
Yes.
Um,
The psychomotor agitation. Mm. You, this is, and I'm not doing therapy. Let me say that. That's my
okay.
but
One man's opinion.
and that's Michelle, right?
That's Michelle. Yes.
This is what I've done before when a person has she done all the things that she says she's done. And sometimes if it's an un like a past life issue, an unresolved issue, you can write a letter to the psychomotor agitation, and it will give you insight, and it will give you control over it because you have to tell it what you need it to be doing for you. But it should be done in the evening before going to bed.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, because it's like we have all the answers inside of us, but we have to figure out a way to tap into them. We really do. We think about it. When you go to a therapist, it's like, for me, the person is sitting there telling me what's going on with them, but they've been dealing with it so much and it's been so gradual, they just think this is the way I am. But my thought is, how do I go in there with you and help you come out? But it's more effective when the person uses their own the skills and techniques that they have to bring themselves out of it. When you do something like that, you gain so much insight. And it's like you're putting it you're pu- because your mind is constantly, this is the way it would work. Your mind is constantly telling you, when I go in here with them, I'm going to be nervous and I'm not going to be able to sit still. And you keep telling yourself that. So you have to tell it what you need it to do. And in your REM sleep, if you do it at night and you destroy it, you don't have to show it to anybody. You don't have to tell anybody, because even when you tell people what's going on with you, if you try to tell them, it's almost like trying to explain a color. They don't get it. They get close to it. But that's what I would say to you. We all have information on board. We just need to tap into it.
And that's part of where the muscle
Yeah,
relaxation can come in handy.
right.
Um, from what I was reading here, if I understand it correctly, it becomes a muscle memory so that when you start feeling these things,
Mm-hmm.
automatically your body kicks in and starts doing
Mm-hmm.
the things that it's learned how to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, and Michelle also does, she's a
Yeah.
wonderful reader
Yeah.
and
Let us
astrologist.
let us know how it works, Michelle, because you got everything else going for you. The
Yeah,
exercise, the diet, and it's like there's just a missing piece that your brain will put together in your sleep. It will put it together.
interesting, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And thanks, Michelle. Get back to this is the next. Trying to see if I can make it bigger, but I don't think it will let me. Um, without making everything else bigger.
Yeah.
um, okay, here's another worksheet explaining what are panic attacks. Um, we kind of covered some of this earlier. Um, uh, Part of what it discusses here in this middle section, it talks about panic attack facts. It says they may feel scary, but they don't actually cause physical harm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're usually brief but very intense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they can seem to occur randomly, but I think that's where Isaac was talking about when you're writing it down.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting it on paper. That helps your brain kind of consolidate what was I doing, what was I feeling, what was going on before
Mm-hmm.
this panic attack hit me.
And let me add this. When you do something like that, it tends to bring up a lot of emotions that you may not have realized that were there. But that's the whole point. We can keep emotions at bay and they keep trying to poke through. And we have to find a way to release them. And that's one way. So realize that if you do something like that, it's going to bring up emotions. And that's why we tend not to resolve issues like that, because we never went through the emotion. We sort of go toward it and back up. Sorry about that, share.
No, that's good. That's good. That's what I was that's why I wanted to bring some of that out.
Mhm.
Another section of where it talked about are what they call, let me get it on the right page here. Okay, here we go. All right. This is the other page that discusses this. Another one of the worksheets that you can
Mhm.
download if you want.
Mhm.
Like I said, the link
Mhm.
is in the chat. And that's challenging anxious thoughts.
Mhm.
And that very first section here, they're talking about um, right in this area here, describe the situation that triggers it. That's
Mhm.
writing it down, keeping a journal.
Mhm.
Um, just even if it's you don't have to maybe physically write it down. You might be able to keep a vocal journal,
Mhm. Mhm.
on your phone or something. Um,
Mhm.
just talking about describing what's going on that triggered, and after you do this several times, then you might
Mhm.
start seeing the trigger, what
Right.
brings on these attacks.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
Another section they have here is if you're faced with anxiety producing situation, describe what the worst outcome would be, what the best outcome would be, what the likely outcome would be. Um, so you're looking at a lot of
Mhm.
different levels, I guess I
Mhm.
would say, of what
Mhm.
of what it is that they're trying to bring out here.
Mhm.
Um, and then it asks you a week later to go back through what what if the worst outcome actually happens? Would it still be the same a week from now, a month from now, a year from now? How do you deal with that?
Mhm.
Um, right now, I think the country as a whole
Mhm.
has been going through PTSD for the
Mhm.
past,
Mhm.
20 years or so, since 9/11, especially.
Yeah.
So much changed in our world
Mhm.
that, hi, Teresa. So much changed in our world that we didn't know how to deal with because there
Yeah.
was no definitive answer.
Mhm.
Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody want to knock buildings down? Or this, it's that trying to understand that comprehension of why.
Mm.
And then you add to it the the reaction that unfortunately far too many in the people in this country had to President Obama getting elected the first time.
Mhm.
You had people that went into massive panic attacks because, oh my God, a black man is in the White House. It's like, please, like it's it's
Mm.
no different than the white man that's in the White House, just a different color. But it's how people reacted to it and the
Mhm.
overreaction to it.
Mhm.
And so we wound up with Trump, which was like the overreaction to what had happened previously. Yes, sir. What you want to add?
No, I was saying hi to
Oh, I thought you were telling me, wait a minute.
Pisces greeter. No, 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 no. I don't
Hi,
know the
Cornell.
names. I'm just reading the Pisces greeter.
Oh, yeah, her name's Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
And she sends hugs to everybody. She'll go through all the chats, send a hug out
Okay.
to everybody. Um,
But Sherry, you were right on point. Those questions, what they do is they help us to get to know ourselves. Like you say, at some point you're going to realize what you're doing and how it's affecting you. It's like when you we have to start asking ourselves questions. But everything that we've talked about up to this point, don't walk away from. I think didn't you put up that feelings sheet at one time? I think we did.
I think we did that last
Yeah, with
episode.
the yeah, with the,
Boundaries, or was it the first one? I don't
impact.
remember.
But
I'll have
all of the stuff
impact.
that
That was last. I
right,
think that was last episode.
yeah, all of the
Um,
stuff that's we put up, try to use some of it. And like this sheet with these coping skills, there's going to be certain things that you do that works best for you. Don't walk away from it when you feel better. Know that it worked because you may have to return to it if that makes sense. It's like you're getting to know yourself so well that you know how you respond in different situations. And as I see somebody that said they had they were terrorized by an alcoholic neighbor for like 12.
yeah, Garnett said that.
I'm thinking, it's like you have to almost uh, consult that's with people that you know, somebody who's grounded, not anybody that says do something to them, but you may have to just go through the proper channels to ensure that this person doesn't keep doing this. Because a person in an alcoholic state, they're not in a good state of mind. And so the
Mm-mm.
person who's in a better state of mind needs to be calling the shots. And that's what I would say. Because sometimes, one thing that I've started to realize is anytime I've had a setback or a downfall, I played a role in it somehow, either wittingly or unwittingly.
Yeah,
And we have to start realizing that when we're playing a role in our own downfall.
yeah. We self sabotage ourselves without even realizing it sometimes.
Right.
Um,
And I see where they said they were told to keep a diary. That would
yeah,
be good if if like law enforcement or somebody did something, because it, just because you're intoxicated, you don't have the right to terrorize anybody and say, "Oh, I was under the influence. I can't remember." I mean, like you can harm somebody and you don't remember. That's not a good
yeah.
thing.
But you can go to jail for harming somebody because you're
Right.
intoxicated and don't
Right.
remember. I mean,
Right.
call hit and run.
Right.
um,
There's a lot of people
yeah,
showed up in jail that couldn't remember what they did, but they go to jail. But you know one thing, in the whole scheme of things, if if law enforcement keeps coming to my door because I'm harassing people and I'm intoxicated, that's really the universe saying, hey, you need to get yourself together. Because I guarantee you that person says, I need to stop this. But when help comes, we don't even recognize it as help.
No, no, they think they're being harassed, or they think that they're the victim
Uh-huh.
because somebody is saying you can't keep, I
Wow.
mean, go on YouTube and pull up Karen videos.
Hmm. They said they were more
Oh my
afraid of.
God, the all over the top freakouts that some of these people have for something as
Mhm.
simple as being told at the drive-through window, "We're out of that today. Would you like to order something else?"
Mhm.
Or they want to drive through at 10 o'clock at night and they want to order breakfast, and it's like, we don't
Mhm.
serve breakfast at this time. We only serve, the other food.
Mhm.
And the people that freak out, I just came across a video the other day, one of the Karen videos, where this woman was in court being given her sentence by the judge for some stupid thing that she did, and I don't remember what it was.
Mhm.
And she was so offended by the fact that somebody was going to punish her
Mhm.
for her bad behavior. She
Mhm.
literally leapt over the table that she was sitting
Mhm.
behind with her
Mhm.
lawyer, and then
Mhm.
proceeded to try to jump over the judge's desk to get to the judge. And it's like, girlfriend, you just added untold amounts of more punishment to yourself
Uh-huh.
just for attempting to do that. You're lucky you didn't get shot. I
Mhm.
mean, you got these people who get wound up for whatever reason
Mhm.
by whoever it is that they listen to, that show up in Target looking like Rambo, getting ready to invade wherever,
Right.
um, locked and loaded. And it's like, I'm
Mhm.
more afraid of these people than I am
Right.
of anybody else that might walk in that store, because they're on a hair trigger,
Yeah, I've seen
and
that before.
they're gonna go off at the slightest little thing.
Mhm.
I'm surprised we don't see more of that.
Me too.
It used to be called going postal
Yeah.
decades ago, because post office workers would always be under so much stress
Yes.
in their job that they would literally snap and just
Mhm.
go nuts on everybody in the
Mhm.
office, or in the
Mhm.
warehouse, wherever they were at. And it
Mhm.
was called going postal. And
Yeah.
nowadays it's, you're called a Karen.
Yes. Everyday life.
And because of all that's happened since
Mhm.
9/11
Mhm.
and all the years leading up to now, it's been like, for the country as a whole, it's been like one thing after another, after
Mhm.
another, after another, and it's just been nonstop,
Mhm.
especially after the previous administration. By the time they got through the end of their 4 years,
Uh-huh.
felt like I had aged 50 years because of
Uh,
all the stress and the chaos that we were put through as a whole. And so
mhm.
you have an entire country that is now in PTSD trying to come back to normal,
Mhm.
and yet still dealing with people that will go off any given moment for some of the silliest reasons in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
it just, I, I mean, I've literally been in a grocery store or a department store where one of these harebrained good guys with a gun walks in, and I take my stuff, I go put it back on the shelf, and I leave. It's like, I'm
Mhm.
not staying in the store with them,
Right.
because
Right.
there ain't no telling what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, and granted, especially when you're dealing with neighbors and stuff,
Yeah.
especially in this country, I'm ashamed to say you have to take into consideration,
Mhm.
what race are you? What gender are you?
Mhm.
what race and gender is the other person that's harassing you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because depending on that breakdown
Mm-hmm.
can depend, can mitigate exactly what response the police are going to have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if your grandpa Joe, white dude, sitting at home saying my crazy neighbor is making me nuts, nine
Mm-hmm.
out of 10 they're going to do something about it.
Right.
If you're a young family of color
Mm-hmm.
who's getting harassed by Grandpa Joe because he's gone off the deep end, depending on who your law enforcement is in your city, could depend very well on how that's handled. And if you feel protected or if you feel like the cops are against us too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that consideration to take
Mm-hmm.
into play,
Mm-hmm.
which is shameful to even have to think it or say it. But
Mm-hmm.
I live in the deep South, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Trust me, it happens
Mm-hmm.
more times than I care to admit. I see it in the newspapers and stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you would think it's 2024. Why can't we get past this?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, um, before I go off on that soapbox, my mama, my mama was very anti bigotry.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have the time or the patience to deal with anybody that
Mm-hmm.
behaved that way. Um, now, one of these, let's see, did I? I think I got to back up on my sheets here. Okay, here we go. Put this back up. Okay, no, there we go. Now I got it. Jeez. Um, down here at the bottom of this uh, worksheet, it talks about anxiety treatments.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about cognitive behavioral therapy,
Mm-hmm.
which I will let Isaac explain.
Mm-hmm.
Talks about exposure therapy,
Wow.
medication therapy,
Uh-huh.
relaxation techniques.
Mm-hmm.
So it's giving you
Mm-hmm.
uh, some options of how it may be treated if you're having these massive anxiety attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now,
On
cognitive behavioral therapy, that's up your ballywhack.
Mhm.
So,
Right. CBT, that's basically like you're learning ways, you're learning when you're having the attacks and you're sort of like talking through it, which is something that you have to learn over time. But usually when you're doing what most people would recommend, if you're having doing therapy, that it may be best with medication unless you're some people that I've worked with, some people they're like, no, I don't want to take medication at all, so they're willing to do the CBT. And I may add something else like a letter writing assignment so that they can get really clear on it, because initially they don't know where it's all coming from. It could be
right,
something that's in their genes, or it could be something that uh, just occurred, like some type of trauma, and they're trying to work through it, but not in a productive way. So, and the like the progressive relaxation, those are things that people will do, trying to get to it before the medication. Now, the exposure therapy, I'm not a big fan of exposure therapy. Some people, I don't even do it. Some people do it well, but it's like if you're afraid of being buried alive, they would like put you in a box and
mm-mm,
You see what I'm saying? To me, that's cruel. To me, that's cruelty. I don't even want to do
Yeah.
exposure therapy with
I
anybody.
mean, it's like somebody's scared of spiders. What, you gonna put them in a room full of spiders?
Yeah, they'll bring a spider in a glass box, and then they'll let the spider out the box, and it's like that's just I don't get it. But
Yeah, no,
some people that's their thing. But let me say this: some people understand that we're all made differently. Some
yeah,
people they would be like, okay, I understand this process. Let's do it. And some people would be like you, no, I'm not even going near you. So
yeah. You're
that
not gonna
it,
go down that road.
all of those all of those techniques and strategies would work for somebody. They may not work for everybody. You couldn't apply it to everybody.
Right. And that's where I'm hoping that what we're able to do with these shows that Isaac and I are putting on is being able to spotlight these different
Hmm.
behavioral, cognitive, mental issues that everybody deals with a lot of times on a daily basis, how to recognize them,
Hmm.
how to know if it's something that you can handle yourself by doing deep breathing or muscle relaxation
Hmm.
or doing guided meditations or
Hmm.
whatever you need to do to bring yourself to that calmness, and knowing that, okay, this phobia that I have or this irrational fear that I have is so extreme that I'm going to need outside professional help.
Right.
And so that's our goal, is to help you figure out
Hmm.
what are some of the simple things you can do yourself at
Hmm.
home,
Hmm.
and when to recognize that, okay, it's gone beyond this point.
Hmm.
I need professional help.
Right. And even Garnett, when with the person, you could go to a therapist and say, this is what's been going on. Maybe I'm not seeing something clearly. Can you help me? And usually they'll work up a treatment plan, and they can help you maybe think about it in a different way. And a lot of times a therapist will advocate for you. So that's a big thing.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Uh,
A therapist will advocate for you, help you find resources. Yeah, that's a big thing.
and for those that are in the States and they don't have the kind of health care available to them that
Mhm.
they do over in England or in Canada or some of the
Mhm.
other European countries, um, there are clinics available in your town, or at least in your state,
Mhm.
um, where there is help that you can get
Mhm.
that you're not having to pay for because you don't have insurance and you don't have money.
Mhm.
Um,
Our
uh,
community mental health system. It can be backed up sometimes. Some of them function really well. Sometimes it takes a long time to get into them, and sometimes it doesn't. And it's like it's available, but a lot of people shy away from it. But if that's the only option, I would suggest do it, because I've worked in community mental health. I've
yeah,
done, and they are busy. They work hard, but help is there. We just have to seek it out.
exactly. And if you're not sure where to go or what to do, call your local hospital
Hmm. Yeah.
and just say, hey, I'm having this issue. I don't have insurance. I don't have money. Is there a clinic in our
Right.
area that I can go to? And
Hmm.
they will give you that information. I
Right.
mean, and
Right.
nowadays with the internet, you could probably Google it yourself and come up with a whole list of places that
Yes.
you can call. And if it's severe enough, then there's a good chance, granted, depending on the state that you're in, that you might qualify for Medicaid help
Mhm.
just to help you deal with that. My son got on Medicaid
Mhm.
because of the PTSD that he
Mm.
suffers from when he served in the military
Mhm.
and did 2 deployments, and it kind of messed up his head.
Yeah.
And so, between that and then uh, he was able to get on Medicaid because of that.
Mhm.
And then once he started seeing a regular doctor and they started working through all of his issues, it was discovered that he also has adult ADD.
Mhm.
And so it's like that. Well, you combine the two, that's a lethal combination. You're
Mhm.
constantly on this roller coaster going up and
Mhm.
down.
Mhm.
And so he's been prescribed medication for it.
Mhm.
He takes a form of Adderall. I don't know which one it is, but
Mhm.
one of them, which helps him focus and be
Mhm.
able to do things and function a little bit better without flipping out,
Mhm.
because before that happened, he would get triggered and man, just go off the handle.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just simply because he was trying to deal with something he didn't know how to deal with.
Mhm.
I was trying to help them. And I mean, I'm not a professional counselor. Yeah, I
Mhm.
took a lot of psych classes in college
Mhm.
because it was interesting to me. So I learned a lot of stuff, but I've not gone through the process of how you diagnose and then prescribe and then care for and to walk a patient through each step.
Mhm.
Um, so it's important. Part of the reason why I was so drawn to do this and was so thrilled when Isaac jumped on board with me was because I feel like there's a lot of people that deal with this stuff on a daily
Mhm.
basis and they have no way of knowing
Mhm.
what it is,
Mhm.
how did they get there, and how do I
Mhm.
take care of it? You know,
You're right, and if
gonna
you've
lock
had
me up in a hospital and throw away
Mhm.
the key, or
Right.
am I gonna go to a clinic once a week
Right.
and talk to somebody?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, some people don't see a way out. If this is if you've had anxiety most of your life, we just start to think, "Oh, this is how it's supposed to be," but it can be different.
Absolutely. Um, some of these people you see that go shoot up a place or kill their family then themselves. I mean, these are extreme cases, but
Mhm.
a lot of times it's people that are under an extreme perceived duress
Mhm.
and they don't know how to handle it and they don't know who to call to help them.
Mhm.
And so some of them, something will snap and they do
Mhm.
something really crazy.
Mhm.
Other people will self harm,
Mhm.
they will harm themselves
Yeah.
because they think there's something wrong with me
Yeah.
because I'm feeling this way or I'm reacting this way.
Right.
How do I fix it?
Mhm.
And so that's my goal behind this
Mhm.
show. Um,
Mhm.
I think pretty much it's Isaac's goal as well when we
Mhm.
discussed it.
Yeah.
Um, I'll let him speak for himself, but
Yeah, to let everybody know that it's possible. We all know what's going on with us, and we can get help. We, you know, and Sherry, you were talking about the politicians. We've gotten into a space where we feel like we need them, but when we start taking care of ourselves, you'll start noticing politicians change. When you care for yourself, uh, you have more, I guess, more control in your relationships because you know you can take care of yourself. So, and there's nothing wrong with us depending on other people. I think that's the way we're built, the way we're set up. But we have to know that, okay, it's nice having this person or these people in my life or this situation, but if I didn't have them, I could still take care of me, because you have to anyway. You have to anyway.
Right. That was part of the process I went through after my husband died,
Mhm.
because it was like I had always been taking care of other people or
Mhm.
been taken care of by other people.
Mhm.
And then I found myself in a situation where I didn't know if I could take care of myself,
Right.
even though I had been doing so
Mhm.
for a good majority of my life. I didn't know that.
Right.
And so I wasn't able, it, I had to seek help for why am I,
Mhm.
continuing to be this way or that way,
Mhm.
or.
Mhm.
And it was when I received the help
Mhm.
of somebody to walk me through saying,
Mhm.
you can't keep taking on all the problems of the world
Mhm.
that you have no control over.
Mhm.
Um, as I had pointed out to me at that point in my life, was you've been taking care not just of yourself, but of your whole family for decades. What makes you think you can't take care of you alone now?
Isn't it
And it's funny
amazing?
because your brain
Right.
will will mess you up on that. And
Mhm. Isn't it amazing that you knew you were doing it? And you're not the only one, we all do it. But
yeah,
we don't see it. We don't see it. And that's why
yeah,
we need to step back sometimes and have, at least if you don't go to therapy, at least have people in your life who can tell you the truth with compassion.
right.
Yeah.
Not out of anger or menace, but
Right.
with compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it doesn't mean that you have to, just because you learn something about yourself, it doesn't mean you have to change it tomorrow. At least you know it. And then you can make a plan. You can decide how you want to change. That's what I think.
and yeah. What's step one? What's step two?
Yes. Yes.
What's step three? And that's where these worksheets I hope will help.
Yes.
I was really excited when Isaac was able to sent me all this kind of stuff back before we started did our first show. It was like, here's some
Mhm.
guides to help. I was like, I could have used this myself a year ago. Um, but yeah, I mean, it makes a big difference because
Mhm.
now you get a physical item that you
Mhm.
can print out or you can download on your computer,
Mhm.
and you can, if you're having issues, you can go through some of these worksheets and help
Mhm.
determine, okay, is this something I can deal with myself,
Right.
with self-care, or is this something that, okay, I'm going to need professional help here,
Mhm.
and I need to make an appointment to go see a counselor in my area, someone like Isaac, who's going to sit there and talk you through it and let you
Mhm.
figure out what's going on. And
Mhm.
it's hi Pixie Dust. um so yeah, I mean, there's so much we can do to help ourselves and to help each other, but it's a matter of knowing what it is and how to do it. um yeah, we were talking about Valium way back in the beginning. That
Mhm.
used to be the standard
Mhm.
for doctors everywhere was, oh, you're feeling anxious, here, take a Valium, you'll feel fine. And you had a whole generation of women especially that were just starting to go out into the workforce and
Mhm.
whatnot, not being a stay-at-home mom, um, suddenly under these massive panic attacks and didn't know what was wrong with them. And
Yeah.
um, there's been a couple of really excellent movies over the years that came out about that, and
Mm.
that's where taking medication needs to be carefully looked at.
Mhm.
And you need to not self-medicate, but see a professional for that. Um, some people can maybe take a few puffs of something chills them out, mellows them out. They're fine, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's your opinion. That's your option. If it's not illegal where you're doing it, go for it. You know, but other people may need more narcotic relief because of certain issues. You know, it's like that's an option, but that's usually reserved for those to an extreme,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, even therapists don't like to dole out pills anymore unless
Mm-hmm.
it's an extreme case and it's needed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I go to a pain management doctor for my disability, and they go through ungodly amount of paperwork when they have to prescribe narcotic medication to a patient and
Mm-hmm.
to justify why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you as a patient have to go through things to justify why you need it.
Yep.
Whereas before it used to be just here, take a pill, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the treatment is worse than the problem.
Yep. Yep.
And I think that's about all I have. I don't have anything else on my notes that I wrote,
Okay.
as I printed out a lot of what we showed up on the screen just so I could kind of have it in my face and look at it while I
Mm-hmm.
was showing it to everybody. So yeah, you've got deep breathing exercises. You've got
Mm-hmm.
uh, muscle relaxation exercises. Um, uh, Different types of relaxation techniques. Um, if it's something really bad, they might put you through exposure therapy if
Mm-hmm.
that's something you can deal with. Um, it might be dependent
Yeah.
upon medication, you know, but
Yeah.
that's something that a medical MD has to determine. You know, it's um, energy medicine. I don't know what that is. Um,
Mhm.
Thanks, Michelle. Have a good evening. Um,
Yeah.
that's it. That's all I got. If there's anything else you want to add to it,
Nah, that's all I have. I just like to comment. Pixie dust, the EMDR. Yes, that's worked for a lot of people.
I don't know what that is.
Uh, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's it, like you
Okay.
move, and it's 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 a big deal.
But we've lost,
but what I would say is, if a person has been struggling with something for a long time and they're able to see a therapist, the therapist would recommend what they thought was best for them. And even if you went to a therapist that did not do EMDR, and if that therapist thought you needed it, they would refer you to somebody else. That's the way
okay.
it should be working.
And yeah, there are all kinds of therapies. Like I said, I with a lot of mine, I did the Tai Chi thing
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
the Qigong thing. You know, just because it was enabled me to move and try to
Hmm.
stay flexible in
Hmm.
my inflexible spine. And it helped me in other ways as well. You know, a lot of this information I wish I had known back when my husband was going through a lot of it. Would have been
Right.
helpful.
Right.
Um, but you learn as you go. So going forward, I was able to recognize symptoms in my son
Right.
and go, okay, we need to get help because
Mhm.
you're like triggering out really bad here.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I put the link up in the chat all the way at the top of the chat. I put the link up for the worksheets and stuff.
Mhm.
There are links within those for contacts for you to try to, if you need more professional help, that you can contact. If nothing else, call your local hospital and just ask them, do you have clinics for
Mhm.
people that don't have insurance or money
Yes.
to
Mhm.
deal with this? And,
Right.
they will, most places will be set up to give you that information or at least point you in the right direction for
Yes.
you to go get that information.
Mhm.
And, but just knowing that you're not crazy, you're not losing your mind, you're not
Mhm.
having a heart attack, you're
Mhm.
having a panic attack, and
Right.
learning those symptoms and how to deal with it makes a huge difference
Yes.
on um, your own wellness,
Yes.
not just mentally, but emotionally, spiritually, physically, because it all gets tied in together.
Yes.
If you're off in one area, it's going to make you off in everything else.
Mhm.
And so that's it. I don't think I have anything else I can reiterate
Mm. No. I
and
think
say again.
I
So
think we covered a lot.
we did. We went over a lot of it. Um, we will pick 3 possible topics for next episode, which will be, forget the dates. Let me look. Today's the 10th. Okay, we'll be back on the 24th of March. Um, and in a few days, I will post in my community tab um, a poll for 3 topics, and we'll let y'all pick what topic you want us to go over next time. And
Yes.
so, whatever wins the poll wins the topic, and then Isaac and I will pull that information together and prepare for the next episode. Um,
Yes.
so hopefully this gave y'all some help and some ideas. For those that didn't make the live and they're coming in and watching the replay, I'm hoping you were able to get the information you needed. If you have
Yes.
questions about some of it, feel free to email me and ask me about it, or leave a comment in the comment section under the show after it's over. You can go in and leave a comment. You can ask questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll send it to Isaac and say, "Hey,
Yes.
this person had this question. What can we do for it?"
Sure. That works. Mm.
And
And
so,
thank you, Pixie Dust.
absolutely. And probably you would do better to leave a comment as opposed to an email, because I get so many emails that I very likely could skim right over it and not see it.
Mhm.
So, especially for those that catch this on replay,
Yeah.
leave a comment in the comment section. And
Yes.
that way I get notified somebody's left a comment. I can go in and check and
Yes.
respond to it,
Mm.
and see what I can do.
Okay.
You know, get with Isaac, see what the two of us can do together
Yes.
to assist. And that's the whole point of this, is to try to
Mhm.
help everybody have a little bit smoother day, and not be quite so you know
Yeah.
I love the cat that I use for the freaked out cat that I use for it. It's like, yeah, there are days I sure feel that like that.
I know, right?
Oh my goodness. Um, okay. Thank y'all very much for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Isaac, for another great show.
My pleasure.
And we will be back in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And We will see y'all then. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Have a
Yes.
great week. Take a deep breath. Breathe.
Yes.
It's going to be okay.
Yes.
We'll get through it.